Welcome to another episode of Trucker Talk. Now, today, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know I'm on one. It's my birthday. I turned 42 today. Today is August the 1st, 2026. And I tell people, I wake up sometimes, and it can be any day. I wake up with stuff on my mind, right? That's life. Life happens. So today, I want to talk about the complaining culture when negativity takes over the workplace. I'm going to talk about the complaining culture. My mic went out. When negativity takes over the workplace. So check us out. Have you ever walked into work in a good mood only to have someone constant complaining drain your energy before your first cup of coffee? Today, we're talking about complaining culture. If you listen right now, this episode is for you. If you experience this, this is for you. So today, we're talking about complaining culture, how it develops, why it spreads, and how it can impact an entire workplace. So I'm going to go ahead to this disclaimer. This episode isn't about silencing legitimate concerns. There's a difference between speaking up about real issues and creating an environment where negativity becomes the norm. What is a complaining culture? So, what does complaining culture mean? How it slowly becomes normal? Why negativity can become contagious? The difference between occasional frustration and a constant negative mindset. A question, check us out. When does venting become a habit instead of a healthy release? So, with the complaining culture, I'm going to give you an example. I've worked at Coca-Cola. I've worked at Cisco in Knoxville. I've worked at Taylor Lubricants, Dilmer Oil, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and now I'm at Core-Mark. One thing that, and I'm gonna go back to my Coca-Cola days. When I used to work at Coca-Cola, we all would complain. We complain. Oh my God, we got that. I got so many stops. I got so many cases. But we still showed up to work. Why we complained? It was just camaraderie. Everybody, they sat around, they complained. And I got to that point when I was at Coca-Cola where I got sick. And when I say sick, when I get that feeling where, you know what, I'm sick of this workplace, adios, I got to go. So when I made my mind up in 2015, and here's the story, I jumped out. I went from the skillet into the frying pan because the reason I left Coca-Cola was for Cisco and Knoxville. For what? For more money. But you know what? The toxic work environment that was at Coca-Cola, when I went to Cisco, oh my God. You talking about let me say this right, toxicity, toxicity, I can't even pronounce it. Toxic, very, very toxic. I can't even pronounce that word. I need to work on it. But it was toxic. It was toxic to the point when I came in the mornings, we had a table. Well, there was a table that had the like all the routes, whatever. And it was like right there in the middle of the warehouse. And all the drivers, it'd be like 3 or 4 of them. I would walk in that warehouse, walk all the way around outside, get my dolly, unlock it, sit it on the little walkway, go in, grab my computer, my paperwork, and then I would go. Because all the drivers, it'd be 3 or 4 of them just sitting there like, man, I got to do this. Man, I got to do that. I got these so many stops. What am I going to do? And I'm like, you can sit here and complain all day, but at the end of the day, the route's got to get run. It's got to get done. So people just they find things to complain about, and they make themselves miserable. And go back to Coca-Cola. I was at Coca-Cola. I got to that final point. I was up running the Maynardville area, and I was just like, it was OFS. Coca-Cola Consolidated just bought us out. And keep in mind, I might get these mixed up in the wrong order. I don't think I ever worked for Rowdy Coca-Cola, but it was CCE, CCR, Coca-Cola Ball. They was like 3 or 4 different companies that I worked for from my knowledge. They got bought out. So then when Consolidated bought, I think it was CCE, CCR, CCT, whatever. So everything changed. And again, when companies get bought out, you don't have control over that change. So the changes that they made, of course, I didn't like them. I was miserable. So you know what? I jumped into Cisco. So Cisco was away from the Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola business. But keep in mind, y'all. Well, I'm gonna do this later in the episode. So from Coca-Cola, when I worked at Coca-Cola, I was responsible for delivering, and I'm talking like you got the pilots, and let me go back, y'all. These are the old school pilots, the old school Waggles, the old school CVS's, Walgreens, before all of this new stuff or this new generation and the new help that they have. I'm talking about we was on the truck by ourselves. I tell people this story. I enjoyed that. We didn't have AC. We had heat. I would have to buy one of them fans to plug up, to put above me, just to blow on my face, just to keep me cool, you know? And so we worked by ourselves, and we had the 16 bay doors. I'm talking you stacking cases on the ground. The pilots, the Waggles, the Indian store, the mom and pop stores, the high schools. When you go to the high schools, there were some high schools, you know, you either bumped the dock or you stacked the drinks up on the dock. Then you got up on the dock and you rolled the drinks inside. It don't matter, pouring rain at night, in the heat, in the cold, it didn't matter. You worked, you did your job, you went home. At that time, my mindset was, I have a son, you know, I have bills to pay, and that's still my mindset now. But you had to work through those conditions. You had to mentally still make it to work and go to work every day and work. But I hear people constantly complaining. And me, I'm in a whole nother working for Core-Mark now, but I look at the Coca-Colas and the Pepsis and all those companies, but with Coca-Cola specifically, I look and like they are dropping stuff. I'm talking about like they're dropping stuff off at, you know, different stops. They have merchandisers that go out and they merchandise for them, but then they work some stops. I never seen that 20 years ago. We didn't do that. 20 years ago, we was by ourselves. We was picking up out of that, rotating, building displays. You had CVS's. You had to build displays. At Walgreens, you had to build your displays. You had to do that, and you was by yourself on the truck. I come from that era. 20 years ago. So in 2026, I listen to people complaining. I'm thinking, man, you don't even know. Why are you complaining? You woke up this morning. You made it to work. You're healthy. Talk I'm going to tell y'all something. Comparing Coca-Cola to Cisco and Knoxville, man, you talking about a slap in the face. I got away from Coca-Cola and I said, look, man, I'm about to make this money. Everything good. But I had to learn to adjust. I had to learn to adapt. I'm going to say his name, Tim Lovett. I love you, my brother. And I'm going to say it for the record. I wanted to fight him. I wanted to fight Roy. I wanted to fight these guys, but I'm going to tell y'all, these men, Roy Regline, Tim Lovett, They made me the driver that I am today. They made me the driver that I am today. Back then, I was a little cantankerous, and Roy will probably agree with me 100%. But Roy, at the time, I was going through a custody battle. That's no excuse. That's no excuse to bring it to work. I was, whew, I look at myself now and I look back at where I was at. I was going through it, I was going through it. But I had an attitude. I was I was cocky. And so even back then, and this is one thing I'm gonna tell people, this is what I learned about life, about workplaces. Everybody is held at a different standard. When I worked at Coca-Cola, I was held at a different standard than the other drivers. For the record, I was. Me and my boss, we had a conversation about that. And being cantankerous as I am, I called him out on it because that's my personality, that's my character. If I'm feeling it, I'm gonna tell you it. So me and my boss had that conversation, and I said, "Look, man," I said, "it ain't right. I don't like it. I don't like the way I'm feeling." Me and my mom had this conversation, and of course, I spaz out, say what I say, and me and my boss, we had it coming to Jesus. It was great. We had that conversation, and I will never forget when they started doing the first, this back in the early 20s or back in the early 2000s, we talking 2007, 2008. They started doing the employee of the month. I was the first employee of the month. But I'm going to tell y'all what I learned from that situation. I didn't realize that Roy was pushing me for greatness. I took that for granted. Roy seen that I was young. Roy seen that I had an attitude. Roy wanted me to be great. He wanted me to be the best. I'm not saying I was the best because I wasn't, but he strived for that. He pushed that in me. He instilled that in me. He pushed me. And like I tell people, I ran Broadway all the way up to Maynardville. I had 20 something stops. Me and George Shine, we talk about this all the time. And he would laugh at me. He'd be like, yeah, you work fast, you that good, right? Yeah. And they'll put it on you. I work fast. I work consistent. I had great relationships with my people, with my customers. I build that over the years. I build that reputation. I build the driver that I am today. I can speak on that because it's all facts. It ain't being cocky. But Roy, so thank you for pushing me. Thank you for thank you for telling me and pushing me and just keeping me at that. I had to be man. He held me at a standard, man. He held me at a standard. I used to get frustrated. I used to get flustered. I used to be pissed. But I'm grateful for that. Roy, thank you. Thank you. You pushed me to be the driver that I am today. And that started at Coca-Cola back in 2006. The September 2006. You talking about the later year, the end of the year 2006 when I first started driving. And I thank Lacey McGill. I thank him. He instilled a lot in me too. I'm grateful for him too. He was a great guy, and he's taught me a lot, and he pushed me. He believed in me too. So I'm not going to leave him out. Lacey McGill, he was a good one. I respect that man, and I'll still respect him to this day. He was a blessing to me. Roy, you're a blessing. Lacey, you a blessing. Tim Lovett, y'all are all blessings to me. It made me the man that I am today, the driver. Y'all believed in me. Y'all didn't give up on me. And so enough for Roy. Like I said, I could talk about Roy for years. We had our spats. We, young man, grown man. I was young. So now back to Tim Lovett. Okay. I go to Cisco. Cisco was a whole nother beast. I'm talking hospitals, nursing homes, some gas stations, restaurants. But when I'm talking that, when I was with Coca-Cola, I was in state, just Tennessee. Cisco, I was in Atlanta. I went to Mississippi. I went to Kentucky. I went to North Carolina, Georgia, the Kingsport area, the Tri-Cities, Bristol, Virginia. I'm telling y'all. And I compare, this is what I do. I compare Cisco to any of the jobs that I'm working now. And when I say for the record, Cisco of Knoxville was the hardest, most frustrating, most irritating, most toxic environment. And there again, I'm not taking anything away from the company. The people that makes it toxic are the employees, the drivers. I'm telling y'all, that rubs off. If you got 5 drivers or the environment's bad, that can rub off on you. It's not good. I've been there. I've done that. So, okay. So here I am at Cisco. Tim Lovett gave me an opportunity. But if anybody knows Tim, I've always looked up to Tim. I looked up to Tim since he was at Coca-Cola. I consider him, I ain't kissing this behind because I don't kiss nobody behind. But I consider him one of the best elite drivers because he worked fast. He was by himself. He wasn't in that group of the good old boys. He was separate from the good old boys. He had his own style. He worked fast. He worked consistent. And he was good at what he done. So when he left Coke, went to Cisco, I wasn't thinking about going to Cisco. I was just happy to have a route, you know. So me watching that, you know, so he got me on at Cisco. And I'll never forget when I first started, the first 5 months, I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm driving around crying in the truck, trying to figure it out. And I'll tell y'all a funny story. I will never forget this. They sent me up to Williamsburg, Kentucky. And this story, it stays in my mind. Sent me up to Williamsburg, Kentucky. I'm riding up there. I was off of exit 15. That's the second exit in Williamsburg. Well, I was so in my head. When I got back on, I went back to Kentucky. I was going up. I got on the on route the wrong way because I was so in my head. Here I am driving. I see this sign that says, "Welcome to Somerset, Kentucky." I'm like, what? What's Somerset? I ain't never been to Somerset. So I had to get turned around and come back. So by the time, I'll never forget, Rob, let me just say Rob. I ain't got nothing to say about Rob, but I'm gonna say Rob. He called me. He's like, "Hey man, what's going on? Don't worry about delivering that last stop at UT. They already went home." I'm like, dang. I'm like, well, man, I'm sorry. This, and that. But I made a mistake. And so the thing about Cisco, the difference between Cisco and Coca-Cola, Cisco, you got all these different boxes that's got numbers on it. So you may have a pallet. You may have stops 1 through 7 on that pallet. But it took me a while to recognize, you got the Cisco Classic, Cisco Imperial, and other Cisco Reliance. There's different boxes, red, blue, brown, green, right? So once you understood the language of what you was looking for, the job got easier. But up to 5 months, I was just figuring it out until I had my accident. When I had my accident, I had just had it figured out. So when it comes to Cisco, Tim forced me out of my comfort zone. And Tim, I keep telling you, man, hey, I love you, my brother. But I said I wanted to fight him because I would never forget. Like I said, I'm a loving guy. I don't want to fight Tim. Literally, I don't want to fight him. But I did then. But I never forget. I had just come off of the Atlanta run, and at this time we didn't have nobody. Everybody we shorthanded, and I get back to the warehouse, and Tim was like, I got you going to Alabama tomorrow," and I said, "No, you don't." He said, "Yes, I do." And I looked at him and I said, "Tim," I said, "I've never ran that route before." 20, and he might correct me on this. It was 22 stops, 2 days. You start in, I think, Cleveland, and you work your way to Alabama. You lay over. There's a place called Rainbow, Alabama, and there's a lot of other places down there. I couldn't remember the name, but Rainbow, Alabama stood out to me because I because I never heard of a town called Rainbow, Alabama. But there is a Rainbow, Alabama. I was like, okay. So after coming off an Atlanta run, I had to go home, get my mind, get everything. And this is the thing about it, the mental aspect with the job, the anxiety, the stress. You have to mentally prepare yourself. So I was on energy drinks back then. I'm talking, I would drink 4 a day, and that was not healthy. I don't drink them now. But that was like a motivation for me to keep me going. So I never forget, I had to run that route. And I'm telling y'all, Tim, for the record, you forced me out of that comfort zone. So from then on, I had to run that route. I was late on it, didn't know where I was going. Yeah, I had this hotel. I don't know where it was at. It was somewhere in Alabama off the highway. It was one of the Indians hotels. And I don't know. I was in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have no fast food place. I remember walking down to the gas station to get something to heat up in the microwave because I didn't know where I was at, but I was running out of time and I had to stay there. So again, the anxiety, the I call it PTSD, you know what I mean? Because you had to learn to adjust. You had to learn to adapt. You didn't go to work and say, okay, I got a 11, 12, 13-hour day. When you rent an out of town route, you best believe it's going to be about 14 hours that first day. That second day, it's a little different. But if you run out of time, they would come and pick you up. So Tim forced me out of my comfort zone. And so even with those two examples, when I decided to take Atlanta for like the Monday, Tuesday run. So that built up my experience as far as driving the long miles, staying awake, learning to adjust, learning to be ready for whatever. And eventually I come off of that. And I think one of the mistakes I made was coming back to being local 5 days a week, because even after that, even when I was running Atlanta, I would still have to go up to Cherokee and hit the casino either on Wednesdays or on Fridays. And that was a 2:30 a.m. start time. And one thing I left out, what people don't understand when I say the anxiety, back then, I don't know how they're doing it now, but you would get an email. You wait on that email at 7 p.m. You sitting around, you with your family, you chilling, and you're like, man, I don't even know what I got yet. And one of the things that made my stomach cringe, made my anxiety cringe, was waiting on that email. You're sitting around waiting on an email, and you don't know if you got to get up at 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4. You don't know until you get the email. So I got to a point where I'm like, look, let me know if you want me to start at 2:30. Let me know before I leave this place, because I'm not going to sit around and wait on an email and then have to get up and get 4 hours of sleep. So I had to communicate that to, let's say, Nick, and we had good communication, because I had to explain to him, look, you're not giving me enough time to get sleep. So again, when I came back local, I started running all kinds of routes. I'm talking about Virginia, Tri-Cities, West Knoxville. I managed to stay away from the Pigeon Forge stuff, which I'm grateful, because that was Paul and Daniel, they can have it. I didn't want no part of it, so they can have that. So again, Tim put me in these situations where it made me a better person. Tim believed in me. Tim seen the potential in me. So I worked at Cisco. I'm gonna fast forward. I worked there for 7 years. So Tim ended up leaving, going to a place called Clearfield, but it was Clearfield to Taylor Lubricants. Now it's Dearmer Oil. So when I got tired of or when I got to that point to where I was tired of Cisco, I ended up leaving. I went to Taylor Lubricants, which it was Taylor Lubricants at the time. And again, so from my experience from Coca-Cola to Cisco, Coca-Cola, I had the learning how to drive experience, pulling in the parking lot. I've had my fair share of filling coolers, rotating, this, and that. Building those rapport with the managers, the employees. Cisco, I built more rapport. I've covered more ground. So in my mind, I've already got the map of Tennessee. I'm talking about the back roads. That is imprinted in my mind because from Coca-Cola to Cisco to Taylor, and even though Raleigh Auto Parts, it's like I have the map that's already in my mind because I've already worked these other jobs that gave me those experiences. So I go to Taylor and I was in for a rude awakening. You know, it was a cushy, easy job, but we had to go to Atlanta. Anybody that's ever been to Atlanta, I don't know what your experiences are, but they're 100 miles an hour down there. Again, I wasn't ready for that. So here I am in Atlanta like this, driving a big 50. This is the first time I'm driving a 53 footer, right? So I'm in Atlanta driving a 53 footer, and people just passing me, going through downtown. I'm like, oh, this is nice, And eventually I was going to Atlanta sometimes 3 days a week. So again, that built my mental health as far as driving all those hours. I had to stop and pull over. I had to stop and rest. But I built that over those years, right? So again, Tim, thank you. Tim gave me that opportunity. And I used my tankers there and I used my hazmat there. So I'm grateful for that experience. So fast forward to O'Reilly Auto Parts. I've never worked a night shift job in my life. I never thought I would work nights. But May the 23rd, 2025. I think it was the 23rd, but maybe I'm wrong. Dearmer Oil had bought Taylor Lubricants out the end of 2024, December. 2025, January is when we started with Dearmer Oil. In May the 23rd of 2025, Dearmer Oil decided to close the doors in Knoxville. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know who to call. I freaked out. Called a good friend of mine. I called a friend of mine, Ernie Sands, and he got me a job over at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And I'm telling y'all right now, if you ever work night shift, it's a whole nother mental everything. And I'm talking about your mindset changes. You got to learn how to stay awake at night. I got to the point where I was working it for about 5 or 6 months. And I would get irritated when I would see people during the day because I was so used to not being around people that when I see people, I'm like, why? Like I go to the gas station, go to the grocery store. I'm like, why are they here? Like, what are they here for? You are in my way. I got to that point and mentally, I think I wasn't getting no sleep. And I told them that, later on, I said, look, I don't know how long I can keep doing this for because when I'm trying to sleep, I couldn't sleep. People are mowing, kids are playing, and your mind is like, okay, your brain is used to sleeping at night, not sleeping during the day. So that kind of, messed me up a little bit. But the experience that I got at O'Reilly's was I had to run the Bristol route. I had to run the Maryville route, the Sevierville route, the Kentucky East route. 75 North, Knoxville route. And those routes, they're like I said, it's in different areas and it covers a lot. So the last route that I was working in O'Reilly that I left, it was 360 miles a night, 11 stops. Now, mentally, prepare yourself for that. 360 miles, 11 stops every night. How do you think I mentally prepared myself for that? I didn't. I adjusted. I took breaks when I could. I made it work because at the end of the day, I can't keep complaining about coming in. Oh, I hate this job. And I never, for the record, I never hated the job. I just couldn't. The sleeping pattern was just messing with me. Then I started hallucinating. I was like, you know what? This job is messing with my mental health. So I had to go. So again, the job was the easiest job I've ever worked, a delivery job, because it was so peaceful because I didn't have to deal with, the nagging and this and that. It's a great job. I just I wasn't getting the proper sleep. And my body was just telling me, hey, it's time to check out, bro. So I ended up checking out. So I left that job to get back on day shift. Now I work for Core. And I'm going to tell people, so this whole episode, this is what I'm going to come to. Now I'm at Core, and I've already dealt with Coca-Cola. I've already dealt with Cisco and Knoxville. I've already dealt with Taylor Lubricants, Dilmer Oil, and O'Reilly Auto Parts. We count again. Coca-Cola, Cisco, Taylor Lubricants, Dilmer Oil, O'Reilly. That's five trucking companies. So I'm already beat. Like I said, I'm already beat down mentally, everything. So my attitude, my mentality has changed when it comes to complaining in the culture. So the difference between occasional frustration and a constant negative mindset, you got to ask yourself, when does venting becomes a habit instead of a healthy release? One thing that bothers, one thing that chaps my behind is when people come to work every single day, they complain. And I'm sitting here like, you woke up this morning, you made it to work, your bills are paid, you have lights on, your wife or your son or your mother, your grandmother, your father, they're healthy. You woke up to see another day. What are you complaining about? Stop complaining. Be grateful for what you have in this moment. And it just kills me because people that complain, I'm like, look, you chose to get up today, right? You choose to keep coming in here. If you don't like the job, just quit. You're making yourself miserable. I don't let nobody anymore complain and let it rub off. I bounce it off. And when they complain, I'm like, look, I'm grateful to be here. I'm not going to let your problems become my problems. We ain't doing that today. We ain't doing that today. So the reason people complain too much is because they feel burnt out. They feel unheard, poor leadership, lack of appreciation, personal stress outside of work, resistance to change, low accountability. All right, y'all, I'm back. Key point. Sometimes complaints are symptoms of deeper problems, but sometimes they simply become a habit. The ripple effect of negativity. Talk about how one negative person can influence new employees, team morale, productivity, customer interactions, trust amongst coworkers, employee retention. I'm going to tell y'all something. This company I work for, and I'm tired of hearing it, these guys, and like I said, it's no offense to, it's just people's mentality. I told a driver the other day, and And I'm gonna tell y'all, going into this company, when I started, they said it's 2 to a truck, boom, bam, blah, blah, blah. You know, they gave me the whole spiel. In the back of my mind, I'm used to working by myself. My mentality is what if, what if, what if. Don't depend on the help. Don't depend on somebody driving for you. Matthew, you got to take care of yourself. That's been my mentality when I stepped into this job. I already told myself, you're not going to have help every day. It sounds good. It sounds real good. It's cute. It sounds cute. It's sweet. But you ain't going to get it every day. So my mindset going into this job, I already said I'm not about to depend on it. Because ain't nothing, life changes, situations changes. So I told a guy the other day, he mentioned to me, he said, man, you ain't got no help, this, and that. I said, look, man, I don't know how many times I'm going to tell you, I worked for Cisco of Knoxville. I was there 7 years. Until you work a job like that, that challenges your character, your morals, your principles, your mental health, your health. And I'm going to say this for the record because I want whoever hears this, I'm going to say it for the record. I'm not going to have a conversation with somebody. If you don't have 12 years of driving experience, I'm not going to waste my time having a conversation with you about how difficult a job is or how you don't have help, how this, and that. I'm not going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to say, Paul, I'm not even going to talk to you because you don't have that experience. You don't have that mentality that I have. So I can't really meet you at that place to have that conversation because what I'm saying is going to sound like Chinese to you. You're not going to understand my language because you've never been there. So you won't understand my mentality and understand why I think the way that I think about doing things on the truck, getting it done, being by myself, because that's just what I was used to. I'm not going to say, I've been driving 20 years. So I might as well say I'm going to say 19 years to be on the safe side. 19 years, not 19 months, not 19 days, 19 years. I've had to be in that truck by myself. I had to work. I had to get it done. This new job, it's another obstacle. I've been there for 19 years. Some of these guys, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. Get some more years under your belt. Change your mentality. Change the way you think. Change your attitude when you come to work. I cannot meet you. All I can do is encourage you. But I'm tired of the complainers. You either going to show up to work or you're going to quit your job. If you hate your job that much, just quit. It's simple as that. I've quit jobs because I hated them. I got tired of them. Now I learned to tolerate jobs. I have bills to pay. I have this house to pay for. I have my health to keep up. I have my maintenance on my truck to keep up. The maintenance on this house. I have loved ones that I help, So when I get up in the mornings, I show my gratitude. I'm grateful when my feet hit the floor. I'm grateful when my eyes open. I'm grateful for my life experiences. I'm grateful for the people that hurt me. I'm grateful for the people that love me. I'm grateful for everybody that I can learn from. So you got to change your mentality. Quit complaining. Nobody don't want to hear it. If you're that fed up with it, just quit. Just quit. Have you ever noticed how one person's attitude can change the mood of an entire shift? I've noticed that. I've been there. When I was at Cisco, Harold told me I was cantankerous. But what he didn't realize is the stress that I was up under. Looking after him, working 14 hours a day, getting 4.5 hours of sleep. That's a lot of stress. I never forget, in 2018, I got on blood pressure medication. I didn't realize that my blood pressure was up, but I was under a lot of stress. Stress can kill you. If you don't watch your blood pressure, it can kill you. It's a silent killer. So, speaking up versus constant complaining. Healthy communication, bringing solutions, respectful conversations, addressing concerns professionally, taking responsibility, unhealthy complaining, gossip, blaming everyone else, never offering solutions, complaining to coworkers instead of leadership, refusing accountability. Are your words helping solve the problem or just keeping it alive? Everybody, you need to be held accountable. Show yourself accountable. Accountability changes everything. You're owning your mistakes, receiving feedback without taking it personally, looking for solutions, being coachable, maintaining professionalism. Here's a reflection. Growth starts when we stop asking who's to blame and start asking, what can I do differently? This is the advice for the leaders. Leadership can either reduce or fuel complaining culture. Listening to employees' concerns, being consistent, recognizing hard work, communicating clearly, addressing negativity early, lead by example. How to protect your peace at work. And this is what I do. I choose conversations wisely. I avoid gossip. I focus on what I can control. I set healthy boundaries. I surround myself with positive coworkers. I take breaks when needed. I leave work at work when possible. Protecting your peace doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means not letting negativity define your day. So I got some questions for the listeners. What kind of energy do you bring into your workplace? Do you feel encouraged after talking with you? Do you feel encouraged after talking with you? Are you known for your solutions or complaints? If everyone had your attitude, what kind of workplace would it create? So the final message, every workplace has challenges. No job is perfect. But while you can't always control your environment, you can control the attitude, professionalism, and character you bring into each day. Be the coworker who brings calm instead of chaos, solutions instead of complaints, and encouragement instead of negativity. Thank you all, man. I appreciate y'all for listening. I woke up on one. I'm at this place where I'm like, look, I'm all about when I work, I come to work. I want to encourage everybody I can. I don't need to step on nobody's toes. I don't need to act like I'm the best driver. I'm better than I ain't no better than nobody. I don't need to act like that. I just want to bring peace. I want to come in peace. Good morning. How y'all doing? Change the energy of the room. Be positive. I don't need to come to work. Even if I'm having a bad day, they will never know because I handle that before I come to work. So I want to encourage you all. Just be encouraging. Uplift one another. Respect one another. And thank you all again for checking this out. I appreciate you all. And again, hope y'all have a beautiful day. I'm going to have a blessed birthday because I'm about to go to the gym. Thank y'all for listening. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day.
It's the drip from me.